Boys, today we have a bunch of undefeated UFC fighters. I'm not gonna lie, there's so many more undefeated fighters in the UFC than I originally thought. We have around 30 something UFC fighters here. We're gonna rank them from the worst all the way to the best. Like I said, we have around 30 guys here. And there is a stupid amount of undefeated girl fighters here, but I only kept like 2 of them because I'm not gonna lie, I ain't gonna go through like 20 undefeated girl fighters and rank them. I'm not about to do that. I just picked like 2 of the best girls here, and they're gonna be on this list. So let's start off with the worst one. One of the girls here, Josefine Knutsson. I mean, is there much that needs to be said? Unfortunately, yeah, she's a really good undefeated female fighter. She's 8-0. But when we go through some of the guys, she is gonna be the worst one here compared to some guys. She's 2-0 in the UFC. She came into this on the Contender Series. She's fought Marinic McMahon and Julia Polarosi. Some nothing crazy competition. Let's keep moving down. The other girl on this list, both the girls on the very bottom, but at the end of the day, you can't really compare the girls to the guys. I have Tatiana Suarez here. Tatiana Suarez, in my opinion, the best undefeated female fighter we have. I think she's going to beat Yan Li when they do fight. I think she's going to be the champ, but I have her here. Let's go down to the next guy. I have Jhonata Diniz here, coming up, fighting Derek Lewis here in about a month's time. He's 8-0. He's fought some okay guys. He's 2-0 in the UFC. Austin Lane. I think Austin Lane is just garbage. Then Carl Williams. I believe Carl Williams got cut from the UFC as well, so not even the greatest level of competition. Let's keep going down. Someone who's on this week's UFC card, Clayton Carpenter. You know, there's not much that Clayton Carpenter has done. And that's going to be why a lot of these guys are so low in the UFC. They haven't done anything. He's fought one time in the UFC. He's on the Contender Series. Again, just hasn't done much. Just keep moving down. 9-0. Magomed Gadzhiyasulov. I don't know how the fuck you say that guy's name. And yeah, this guy, he's fought, again, only one time in the UFC. Benson Ribeiro. He didn't look that great against Benson, to be honest. He should have looked a whole lot better. That's why he's so low on this list. Let's keep moving down. Aliaskhab Khizriev. Again, don't know how to say this guy's name. 14-0. People are saying this guy's like the next Khabib. Crazy kind of glaze for this guy, but at the end of the day, he's 14-0. He hasn't done much in the UFC. His last fight was a no contest back in February 2023. Since then, 2022, then after that, 2020, very inactive. I honestly should have had him a whole lot lower, but it is what it is. Let's keep moving down. Rafael Estevam, 12-0. And again, these guys are all pretty much the same from here until we get to some of the bigger name guys. It's mainly because they haven't done much in the UFC. He got a ground and pound TKO win in the Contender Series back in 2022. Since then, he fought Charles Johnson 2023 in November. Hasn't fought since then, so that's why, again, this boy is so low. Let's go into a 9-0 fighter, Youngsung Park. A little bit more active than the previous guys, but still, he hasn't fought at all this year. His last fight, it was a performance of the night against Sharon Ross, liver shot, TKO. That was in 2023. He's fought twice 2023. And, you know, since then, again, hasn't fought at all this year. Just very inactive. That's why it's so hard to rate a lot of these guys. Yes, they might be good, but the inactivity is what's killing them. Let's go down. It's going to surprise a lot of people, I think. I got Mick Parkin here. A lot of people are really high on the Mick Parkin train right now because he trains with Tom Aspinall. He's just a fat heavyweight as of right now. He hasn't really proven much. Let's go through his career right now in the UFC. He has had 4 UFC fights, all of them by decision except for his latest one against Lucas Bresky, which was a first round KO win. But since then, Muhammad Usman, he fraud checked Muhammad Usman. Caio Machado beat him. Jamal Pogues. I mean, who are these guys really? And yeah, it's hard to put someone in heavyweight super high up on the list just because heavyweight's trash. And yeah, you can't be that great when your opponents aren't even that good. Let's go down. Rinya Nakamura. 9-0. This guy a little bit more active than the previous people, but he was on road to the UFC. Inside the UFC, he's won 3 times. And yeah, nothing too special. A little bit better than the last few guys. He has an upcoming fight against Muyin Gafarov, so that's going to be a good matchup. But yeah, he's probably going to beat that guy too. You know, as we get down this list now, we're going to see people who are slightly more active, a little bit more name value, a little bit more name to them. But until we get to like the top 10, it's going to be a lot of these guys that, to be honest, not a lot of people know about. Just like this guy, Nurullo Aliev, 9-0. To be honest, I might have him a little bit high on this list, but his last fight was last year against Rafael Alves, who was on a little bit of a streak here. He has been, you know, cut from the UFC. To be honest, I don't know why I have this guy so high on this list. Forget this guy's this high. Put him down that list. Put him like around the Sung Park area, to be honest. Just so unproven, a lot of these guys. Let's go down. From honestly this point on, there's going to be a lot of name value, and a lot of these guys are actually semi-good, but this is going to be very controversial. I have Shara Bullet here, mainly because I haven't been very impressed with how he's been in his last few fights. In the UFC, granted, he's fought 3 times in the UFC. Bruno Silva, wasn't very impressed with that. Antonio Tricoli, that guy was dead in the 2nd round of exhaustion, and he couldn't put him away until it was the 3rd round. I wasn't impressed with this one. Then the Mickal Olejuskic fight, again, wasn't impressed with that whatsoever. He's fighting Armin Petrosian on the Topuria card, so maybe he'll look good there. But like I said, he just hasn't been too impressing as of late. 14-0, but hasn't been too impressing. Let's move down. 15-0, Gene Matsumoto. Only 1 fight in the UFC, but it was against Dan Argueta for 2nd round guillotine choke. He looked good in the Contender Series. He's fighting Brad Katona pretty soon here in October 19th. Again, a good matchup for him. And yeah, he just has been looking a whole lot better than the previous guys I've listed off so far. Let's go down. 11-0, Oumar Sy. Now, a lot of people probably have Oumar Sy a little bit higher on their list if they would make one, but for me, he did not look that good against Dangwoo Chung in his last fight, to be honest. Plus, he looked really good against Tukos Takos, which was a short notice replacement for him. But, you know, that's his 2nd fight in the UFC. He's again pretty green in the UFC. Didn't look the greatest in his last fight, but he is one of the better light heavyweight fighters. Azamat Murzakanov, 14-0. This guy been in the UFC a lot longer than some of these other guys. He was on the Contender Series, 1st round KO. Then since then, he's on a 4-fight win streak against some pretty good name: Alonzo Menifield, Dustin Jacoby, Devin Clark. And you know, he's scheduled to fight Nikia Krylov on the Jones versus Miocic card. So we're going to see just how good this undefeated fighter is. I don't know if he gets past, you know, Nikia Krylov, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, one of the better light heavyweights that we do have here. Let's go down. 10-0, Hyder Amil. Hyder, ever since he came into the UFC, he's been nothing but finishes in the 1st and 2nd round. He's fought twice this year. He's had a bunch of canceled bouts, but he's fought twice this year. His latest fight against Zhang Young Lee, 1st round KO, got performance of the night. He just looks really, really good inside that octagon, and definitely a featherweight to keep your eye on. Definitely a prospect in this featherweight division. And yeah, maybe he's a little bit too low, but from here on out, it's nothing but prospects and up-and-coming guys. Let's go down. 16-0, Daniel Marcos. I don't know, Daniel Marcos, maybe I just haven't been paying attention that much, but Daniel Marcos has been flown under my radar, at least in this bantamweight division. I completely forgot this dude was undefeated, but he's been in the UFC for a minute now. Came into the UFC 2023 against Simon Oliveira, knee to the body, 2nd round KO. Split decision against Davey Grant, which, you know, not the best look. It is what it is. He had a no contest earlier in this year, then just finished up John Castaneda. He got that unanimous decision win. And he might not be the most exciting guy, but keep this boy active. Best believe we're going to see him break into that top 15 relatively soon. Do I think he goes undefeated his whole career? Absolutely not. But the level of opposition he's fighting is pretty good. Davy Grant, John Castaneda, Simon Oliveira. Some good names in this bantamweight division. Let's keep moving down. I have this guy really, really high on this list just because of his last fight. 10-0 Andre Lima. If you would have asked me where he would have been, in his debut fight, it would have been really, really low. This guy came into the Contender Series in 2023, got that unanimous decision, got the win, then came into the UFC in March 2024 against Igor, and I think Igor was winning that fight. I could be wrong, but when I was watching, I thought he was winning, and I just wasn't impressed with either of these guys. Igor ended up biting the shit out of Andre Lima. We know what happened then. Then, split decision against Mitch Raposo. Again, it wasn't that great of a fight. Then, Felipe Dos Santos. I have Felipe Dos Santos really highly regarded right now. Felipe Dos Santos is a huge prospect, and Andre Lima got it done unanimously. He looked great in that fight. That's why I have him so high up on here right now. And yeah, definitely a huge name in the flyweight division, an undefeated prospect, and I think he's going to go pretty far. But let's keep moving down. 9-0 Danny Barlow. We just saw this guy fight on the Paris card, I believe. And yeah, the only thing holding this guy back is level of opposition, to be honest. Like, Josh Quinlan, not that great of a look. I believe his last fight was against someone who was very, very short notice. I could be wrong about that, but I believe it was a short notice fight. He was supposed to fight Oris Medic. That fight didn't end up happening. Short notice, he ended up getting a split decision, which not looking too good, but welterweight division, I have right now Danny Barlow in this position. Let's go down. Farid Basharat, 12-0. A huge prospect to keep your eye out for. The Basharat brothers, both of them a prospect, but I think Farid right now, 12-0. He's undefeated. Had some good names against Taylor Lapulus. That's probably his biggest name to date right now. And it's not like he's like new in the UFC. He has wins over Kelton Robertson, Damon Blackshear, and then he's scheduled to fight again on the Topuria card against Victor Hugo, which right now, Hugo on a huge win streak, Yes, he's only been in the UFC for a few fights right now, but he's on a huge win streak. Last time this guy's loss was back into 2014 when it was a rib injury. But since then, this guy's on a huge tear, so it's going to be a big test for Farid Basharat. I think he gets it done. Basharat, one of the best undefeated fighters we have on this list. Let's keep going down though. 17-0. People are saying this guy could be a future champion. I personally don't see it, but he's really good. Michael Morales. He just finished up beating Neil Magny back in August. And since then, Jake Matthews, Max Griffin, Adam Fugit, Trevin Giles, 5-0 in the UFC. Not looking like there's been much, trouble for him so far. I do believe he'll be a top 7 guy, maybe top 5 guy. I just don't know if he becomes champion, but he's really, really good. Let's keep going down. Rei Tsuruya, 10-0. Another undefeated guy in this flyweight division. He has looked really good. There's been very little times he has struggled, and it's crazy I have him this high up because he's only fought one time in the UFC, but I'm a very big believer in Rei in this division. I think he's going to go up and do really good in this flyweight division, but maybe a little bit too high up I have him right now because he has only fought one time. Let's keep going down though. Payton Talbott, one of the more entertaining undefeated guys we have here, 9-0. He has some pretty big wins on his resume. He's only fought 3 times in the UFC. He's had some good names on his resume, but by far the best one is Cameron Simon, by far. Then Yanis Gamori, where I think it was the first 20 seconds laid that dude out flat. But again, really, really high up. He should be a lot higher in the division. I hope they stop feeding this guy cans and give him some sort of test. But let's keep moving down. This is probably going to upset a few people, but I have Movsar Evloev here, 18-0. He's been in the UFC for a minute, but his last fight, arguably he could have lost to Arnold Allen. Diego Lopez, that win is just aging like fine wine right now. But don't forget, that was a short notice replacement for Diego Lopez, not a full camp Diego Lopez. Since then, he hasn't fought much. He was supposed to fight Aljamain Sterling. back a little bit ago. It got rescheduled to 310, so maybe if he beats Aljamain, he'll be a lot higher on this list. But in the UFC, he's 8-0. Maybe I'm doing him a little bit. Maybe I'm doing him slightly too dirty because I'm not the biggest fan of him. But let's keep moving down. 6-0. Bo Nickal. I think Bo Nickal, not only does he have a good skill set for this middleweight division where he can go really far, he also has a UFC backing him. So he's going to get pushed. He's going to get favorable matchups. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Bo Nickal fight for a title in the late 2025, to be honest. If we look at his resume, it's shit though, to be honest. Like Cody Brundage, Val Woodburn, Jamie Pickett. I don't know if any of those guys are even in the UFC anymore. So not the greatest set, but he's fighting Paul Craig on the Jones card. His first real test, and yeah, there's not much to be said. I only have Bo Nickal this high up because he got that Dana White privilege, and Dana White is gonna push him mad hard. I wouldn't, like I said, wouldn't be surprised if we see him fight for a title in the near future. But let's keep moving down. 14-0 Lerone Murphy. He just fought Edson Barboza. Since then, no real big names in his resume, but he's on a tear in this division right now. He's on a 6-fight win streak. His first fight in the UFC ended in a draw, but since then, nothing but wins. And it's not like all of them have been decisions. He has a few KOs here. He's fighting Dan Ige on the Topuria card. I don't know if Dan Ige stops Lerone Murphy, I'm not gonna lie, but let's keep moving down. I think we got like 6 more guys left. So moving down, we got someone fighting this weekend, Tatsuro Taira. I might have him a little bit too high on this list because, to be honest, his resume is not that good. If he goes out here and he destroys Brandon Royval, then he might even need to be bumped up. But right now, his last win, Alex Perez, where he tore the shit out of his knee. That was disgusting. But since then, it's not that much, to be honest. But he's on a 6-fight win streak in the UFC alone, so you got to put some respect on his name for that. Most of it is by finish as well, but let's go down to the top 5. Number 5, we have Ian Garry. Ian Garry, the only reason he's not higher on this list is because, in his fights, sometimes it's not like the best look. The fact that he got dropped by Song, not the best look. Daniel Rodriguez, that was easy. Neil Magny, I would have loved him to actually finish Neil Magny, but he was, I don't know, he didn't want to finish. He wanted to play with him for the whole fight. Jeff Neal, split decision, not the greatest look. And then having to completely change the way you fight to fight MVP. I don't know. I still think he can go on to be a title contender. I don't know if he becomes a champion though. Let's keep moving down. Number 4, Umar Nurmagomedov. Umar just doesn't have enough names on his resume compared to these other guys. The only big name he has is Corey Sandhagen. Yes, every other fight has been pretty dominant outside when he got dropped a few fights ago, but Corey Sandhagen being the only name on your resume, I can't have you other than top 4. Let's go to top 3. Number 3, I have Chimaev here. A lot of people are probably going to be angry with this, but his last win was Kamaru Usman. Pound for pound, Kamaru Usman too. I mean, yes, it was an older version of Kamaru Usman, but you go through his resume, it's nothing but name value. Starting with like GM3. GM3, everyone knows GM3. A great gatekeeper. Then he fights the Leech, a dominant win. This isn't a washed up version of the Leech. This is the prime Leech. Then, again, prime Gilbert Burns. Beats Gilbert Burns. Kevin Holland ran through Kevin Holland. Kamaru Usman. He was supposed to fight Paulo Costa. He's going to fight Robert Whittaker at 308. If he beats Robert Whittaker, we might have to put this boy number 2, to be honest. But that number 2 spot right now belongs to Shavkat Rakhmonov. The only reason why he's not higher is because he hasn't got that belt yet. But again, go through this guy's resume. Nothing but name value. We got Wonderboy, Jeff Neal, Neil Magny, Carlson Harris. And again, also 6-0 in the UFC. Next fight probably going to be Bilal Muhammad. I don't know if he beats Bilal Muhammad. I hope he does, but I'm not too sure. Let's go down to number 1, 15-0, Ilia Topuria. He's the only undefeated champion we have right now, so that's why I have him as the best. Plus resume, the boy Volkanovski. If you beat Volkanovski and you're undefeated, you have to be number 1. But yeah, this was a long ass video. Let me know in the comments below, do you agree with this ranking? Do you agree with Ilia Topuria being number 1 at least? because I don't think any of these other guys can come close to Ilia Topuria. But let me know in the comments below. And yeah, quickly look at this right now, because 99% of you guys just watch this shit for free. All I ask, leave a like on this video and subscribe with those post notifications turned on. Your boy is on that goal to get to 1,000 subscribers. So help your boy out, hit that subscribe button. And yeah guys, there's really not that much else left to say, except for I will see you guys in my next video.